Thank you, Chair. I apologize for getting the two bills one number apart, and the fact that we're hearing them at the same time, and that I'm the chair of the committee. It just all kind of rolled together into, get passionate about both bills. So we'll set that one aside, and I'll start my testimony on 781. I won't repeat any of my previous testimony about, who I am and what I did for a living for 30 years. But I do want the committee to know that a lot of the bills that I have filed, most of them, yes, are my personal opinion, or I wouldn't file them to begin with. But I also am a spokesperson as well for the people that do this work, the people in the trenches, the people out in the counties, and who I'm referring to are the local election authorities. And we shorten that to LEAs. So if you hear me talk about the LEAs, that's who I'm referring to. So I'll start out with, I feel that one of the most precious rights we have when we vote is that freedom from interference and that we have a secret ballot. I think that the fact that we make sure through voting booths, through privacy screens, through many of the things that it's our right to do, and we should never ever take that away. But in a way, we are intruding. I feel like we are intruding on those rights if we add something to the voter card, which is now a poll pad when the voters come to check in, which is party affiliation. I feel like that is branding the voter right as soon as they appear at the poll. And I feel that, I'm sorry, I got distracted. I feel that the way this particular language got in this bill to begin with, it got in the original 1878 elections bill, was that it didn't give the LEAs time to respond. It was heard, I will agree, it was heard in elections. Many of you were on elections last year as well. After that, it went to the Rules Committee as referred, but it never came out of Rules Committee, which means it never was debated on the floor. During the negotiation with the Senate on that bill that this language got attached to, it was added as an amendment. That happens all the time. Some of my bills got amended too. The fact of the matter is that was amended as a late hour decision. So when it came back to the full body of the House for us to vote yes or no on House Bill 1878, it still hadn't been vetted, and it was a hurry decision. Plus, it was attached to photo ID, which most of the party that put that bill together was for. So I feel that this type of language that takes away secrecy of the ballot, secrecy of the voters, should have been more vetted, should have had lots of discussion with the LEAs who are charged with doing this job. I feel like that voters don't want the government in their business. Voters want the government to know less about their private lives and their personal lives. We all know of some personal data that has been leaked to agencies we didn't want it to be leaked to. I feel like this type of targeting or branding on a person's voter registration form can lead to them being treated differently. I think if people look at that and they have a job opening, it may sway their decision to not get hired. I see a lot of potential problems with privacy on this overreach. I also think that it's going to be very difficult for the LEAs to produce a document to whoever asks for, say, I want the names, addresses of the people that have registered as a Democrat, or I want the names and addresses of the persons who have affiliated as a Republican, because the MCVR system that is provided to the election authorities through the Secretary of State's office doesn't have and won't have a way to decimate that information away from other things. The public request information is very, very long, and they will be spending a lot of ink, time, producing a document when asked for this type of information that is going to waste a lot of taxpayers' money. The local election authorities, LEAs, in the position of collecting information and updating could be immense because of social, what's going on in social media with people wanting to change party regularly, with something going on in national government. I also think that the entities that don't run by party are going to be affected by, say, the April election, when it's a nonpartisan election in April, but this information is going to be part of their voter registration. It could be very confusing to people. They know their fire board doesn't have to run by party, but there is information on that voter card that says they are Republican, Democrat, or Libertarian, whatever they choose. Non-affiliated, I understand that the sponsor of this bill said non-affiliation. People can pick that if they don't want to register as a party. But then I've been told that the parties are going to use that information to vet a candidate. So if you register as unaffiliated, but later you decide you want to be a candidate for an office that is by party, they're going to challenge, they're going to ask you, why didn't you register as the party that you want to represent? So I feel like they will utilize that, and perhaps some parties think that's good. Maybe they want to, weed out the people that are not true to the party. However, people in county government, and especially local election authorities, they feel like it is a nonpartisan, they have to work with both parties to do their job well. They run by a party, but they choose to be open with how they have to provide services. So we also wonder if this is a precursor to closed primaries. And the Association of County Clerks and Election Authorities have gone on record as being against closed primaries. So they don't want to start this process to go to closed primaries. They want to remain an open primary state. From the county experience, voters are unhappy enough to state a preference for a party ballot during August primary. So they don't want this to muddy up some of the other elections that they will be carrying on. So I'll move on to the protection of the election worker information. I jumped ahead on that earlier, did I not? I can't remember how far I got, but our colleagues in other states have been subject to horrifying harassment, doxing, and verbal and sometimes physical attacks. We're concerned about similar issues arising in this state as we prepare for future major elections, and we need to be proactive in protecting our election judges, staff, and volunteers. Most recently, we have lost election judges because they are concerned about being targeted without any recourse under the law. This language has been introduced in other states and is a national priority for election authorities as we see these threats increase across in other states like Michigan and Arizona. We also have a localized problem in Missouri. We have had, I think at one point it was at least 1/4 of the total number of county clerks through the state have left the profession. Now, some of those were due to retirement, and that's true in any industry, but they have seen that the changes in the law and these threats to them in their jobs they just need to retire early because they feel like it's an ongoing problem and no one's helping with it. And that's why I added this language to this bill. I'd like to help them in some way. So basically, decimating personal information of the family of an elected official with the intent to harass, intimidate, or influence such official in the performance of his or her duties. And that personal information includes home address, social security number, federal tax ID number, checking or savings account numbers, marital status, and identity of a child under the 18 years of age. I know last year I offered this same language on numerous bills that was moving through the process, and I had a question of one of the members of your committee, and I think it opened a light bulb for him, if I can call him out, Representative Wyndham. He asked me on the floor of the House, why marital status? What does marital status have to do? Well, I described to him the situation that happens after election night when you're there late at night, it's dark, the courthouse, nobody left, custodian has locked up, but you and an election authority are there. If you're a single person getting in your car by yourself and they know that, maybe there's nobody waiting at home, that is very dangerous. And that's why we added the marital status. It was mostly because of single, but it goes both ways. So the Class 1 election offense are deemed felonies connected with the exercise of the right of suffrage. Conviction for any of these offenses shall be punished by imprisonment of not more than 5 years or by a fine of not less than $2,500, but not more than $10,000, or both, by such imprisonment and fine. If a violation of this section results in death or bodily injury to an election official or a member of the official's family, the offense shall be a Class B felony, which is 5 to 15 years in prison. That sounds like a lot. I agree. That sounds like, hopefully people will leave them alone, but people be crazy. So we need to protect these people that are running our elections. I believe that is the balance of my testimony on this bill, and I am open to questions.